Much for coming.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, bright and early, to support this power trip.
I am going to read you. Of course, you all know who Priyanka Chopra is, but you may not know everything about her. I don't know that I know everything about you, but we will by the end of this half-hour session. But Priyanka Chopra is an international superstar. She was already a household name in Asia when she landed the role of Alex on ABC's Quantico in 2015, which I don't know how many of you have watched it, but it is fantastic. It's sort of adrenaline pumping. You cannot turn it off. In fact, you were named maybe 3 or 4 times in the last 3 months the Hollywood Reporter's top actors chart, #1, which means that's a measure of social media. It's the #1 person on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram by engagement and followers. You are the top of the world, girl. And
Thank you.
Quantico has been licensed in over 240 territories around the world in 50 languages. I really bring an international view to our conference here. She look at this. I did this morning in my hotel room because I wanted to be more accurate, and now I'm like, don't worry, I'm going to stop reading in a second, but I had to get all this in. So you started in Baywatch this summer as the villain, and you have 2 upcoming films I'm really excited about. A Kid Like Jake, co-starring with Claire Danes, Octavia Spencer, and Jim Parsons, which is about a New York City couple going through the kindergarten admissions process, which is something I can relate to, with a child who is transgender. That is something that I did not go through, but I can't wait to see the movie. And also, Isn't It Romantic, a rom-com co-starring Rebel Wilson and Liam Hemsworth. You also have your own production company, Purple Pebble Pictures. Really? Purple Pebble Pictures from Priyanka?
Is it hard to say?
This time in the morning? Okay. And you have your own foundation, the Priyanka Chopra Foundation for Health and Education. You're also a Goodwill ambassador for UNICEF. You're also a ton of fun and a Mary Claire cover girl. So thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really impressed to say that Priyanka just bored me like 5 minutes ago, because she's like very international, knows everything that's going on in the world, that you just informed me that something wonderful happened.
Oh no, just that I was reading the news today, and I like to watch the news in the morning, and we were just reading and talking about the ISIS capital, Raqqa, which was freed by under the clutches of ISIS. That happened this morning, which is such a big step in the whole Syrian war situation right now for all the refugees and just the crisis that's going on. And I think that's such a big step in that direction of peace. Just because I was recently in Jordan meeting Syrian refugees, so I just thought it was something interesting to say. Start the day on a positive note.
She literally was like, "Good morning, Anne. Did you realize that today?" Da, 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 and I was like, "Oh my God, you're such an international person."
We watch the news every morning, and I swear to God, I look for things which will be positive, and I look for news which would actually make me feel like the world is in a better place. But unfortunately, the world's not, and that's the reality of who we are and where we live.
So tell me about your foundation, Priyanka. What inspired you to start it?
So my foundation is it's self-funded at the moment.
Wow.
And it's a very small foundation, and it started off just by a lark actually. I came back home from shoot one day, and I must have been like 22, 21, and my housekeeper's daughter, who we used to love coming to my house, and she loved my library. So she was sitting in my library this morning and just reading a book, and this must have been like 11 a.m. And I asked her, I said, "Why aren't you in school?" And she said, "Oh, I don't go to school anymore." So that bothered me. And I asked her mom, and I said, "Why does this kid not go to school anymore?" And she said, I can't afford to send all my kids to school, so I'm just sending the boys because she's going to get married anyway. Oh. And that's a waste of money. Oh. A waste of money, ladies. Imagine that. Education is such a basic right, but that girl was thought to be a waste of money. The investment into our women and into our girl children is so important, because that's the future of tomorrow. That ensures that the world that we're living in, which is as crazy and violent that it is, will not happen. So I was very affected by it, because that didn't happen to me. I was born to extremely progressive parents, which always stipulated upon me the importance of the freedom that I had, the privileges that I had, coming from a country like India. The dichotomy of being the daughters of the same nation. She was born in the same nation, I was born in the same nation, and look at how we were treated. That's what led me to start this foundation, and so far we've educated about 80 kids, 80-something kids, and all the way to college, kids who want to want to study, and a lot of them are, people that are employed by me within my various companies, and their kids. That's how it started.
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your education for a minute, because you actually happened to go to a high school very near where I grew up in Massachusetts for a minute. So you grew up in India, and how did you land in Newton, Massachusetts?
Weird story. Okay. So I was about 12 or 13, and I came for a vacation to visit my family, my aunts and uncles who lived here, and I decided to go to one of my cousin's high schools just to see, what an American high school would be like. And this is at 12, so understand that I'm at the beginning of teenage vanity, that's just about coming into me, like, oh, I'm 13 and I'm a girl. And I went into...
You mean you decided to go there like for the day to visit? Or
yeah,
you just
to visit. And I went to visit and I saw that none of the kids had to wear uniforms in school. Now, please understand that in India, the reason we wear uniforms in school is so that there's a uniformity amongst every child. Some children can afford a certain kind of outfit, some children can't.
It's very smart.
So that was the reason to do it. But as a 13-year-old, you want to wear like cute clothes, And I swear to you, that was the reason I wanted to stay back in America. So I made this whole thing up to my mom, and I told her, I said, this will be a great opportunity, and I really want to study here. And my mom was cool with it, my aunt was cool with it, and I ended up staying back for 4 years.
And living with your aunt and going to...
Yeah, and going to an American
public school
high school.
in Newton, Massachusetts.
It started with, actually, Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Oh my
That's
God.
where I was. Then we moved to Queens, New York, and then to Newton, Mass.
And you had an interesting experience in high school that really shaped part of... What did you do? You went back to India because of a bully or something? What's that story?
It was actually, again, there's so much that I have to make sense of when it comes to, race, when it comes to gender, when it comes to all of those things that you deal with as a kid in high school. Because eventually I was just a gawky teenager trying to deal with, like what high school is about, which is hard for everyone. But when I was in Cedar Rapids, strangely, I never felt that I was different. Which is weird because it's middle America, and I never felt that I was, the only brown girl in school.
But were you the only brown girl in school in Cedar Rapids? And you never felt it?
But I was treated extremely well. Like, I was never made to feel different. It was only when I went to Newton and I started high school as a 15-year-old that I understood that, being South Asian comes with a baggage. The baggage of the way we speak, the food we eat, what our culture is supposed to be like, and how misunderstood or not understood we are. And I had a bunch of girls who for some reason didn't like me. Now I look back and I think it was because she thought her boyfriend liked me. But I think it was as basic as that.
The root of all evil. Just kidding.
I think it was as basic as that, but she made my life miserable. Like, she used to call me Brownie. I was a sophomore and she was a junior, which made it even worse because, you don't want that.
Power dynamics.
And she used to call me Brownie. She was like, oh, do you smell the curry when I walked out in the hallways? And she's like, oh, go back on the elephant you came on. And it got so miserable. And what I didn't understand was these girls who were being so mean to me were of African American descent, which made it so weird in itself, which is why I, in my head, thought about the fact that I think it was... when you're so young, it's not that you're coming from a place of malice. You just want to find the one thing that's going to hurt the other person.
Or the one thing that's going to make you feel part of the...
Yeah.
Like the in crowd, so that you were the other.
So I was the outsider. But it got really bad for me when I was in school, and my the counselor at school, she tried to talk to me a lot, but I used to be afraid to go to the bus because there would be 12 girls who would stand outside the bus waiting for me. So I'd walk home. And eventually I just said, you know what, I don't want to do this. I want to go back home. And I went back to India when I was in 11th grade and started school there.
And did you have to wear a uniform?
Yeah. I was in the army school and I had to wear a uniform. Damn it. But I kept it short, so it was still cute.
Okay, so I want to talk about uniforms a little bit later because we had a really interesting conversation last night about clothing and fashion and women and business. But before we get to that, I want to talk about something much more controversial. You talked about the power dynamic of a 11th grader to a 10th grader. Let's talk about what everyone else is talking about this week, which is the power of a producer, a big giant male producer, for example, and a female young actress. Did you everyone's talking about Harvey Weinstein. We've talked about it this morning already. Did you personally experience any sexual harassment when you were coming up as an actress?
I think because the conversation has become so is about Harvey, and that's the example everyone is using. And I just want to do a show of hands, because we're women here and we're standing shoulder to shoulder with each other. How many of you at some point in your life have felt a powerful man trying to intimidate you at your workplace? How many of you? I think almost
Let's
every
ask,
woman.
actually, can we ask how many have not had that experience?
Yeah, how many have not had that experience? 5, 7. I mean, that's great that you haven't. That's the world we should be living
And
in.
do you work in female-dominated industries? Is the question. Yes, a nod of yes.
Okay.
So that is amazing, right? I mean, this is everywhere.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not about sexuality, and that's what I think it is. It's not even about sex. I think it's about power. I think it's about feeling powerful and feeling macho and putting a woman in her place. A woman should be in her lane. She needs to be put in her place, because that's what makes me feel powerful, and that will not be tolerated anymore. With this outcry that has happened when it comes to just the cleanup of Hollywood, as to say, that's going to happen everywhere in the world. And with all of us, actually powerful, accomplished, strong women coming together and saying, we are not going to stand for the fact that this has been happening anymore. We're going to stand shoulder to shoulder. Hopefully, for the next generation of girls, these men will not have the audacity to do that anymore. Because it takes audacity. And
Yes.
that audacity is what we will kill, coming together. For such a long time, women have been told that only one of us will survive, or only the best girl will marry the best guy, or only the best girl, one of us will get the job. But that's not true. There are so many of us. Look at this room of incredible women that have fought everything that they have to get to where they want to. And we can have everything, and that's what we need to teach our daughters going forward.
I think, and the power of numbers is so
Completely.
something we've been talking about a lot. And Ellen Pao said this morning that, if you're the first, or she's an example of this, but if you are one of the first people to speak up, it is really tough. Like there's a lot of backlash, and there still is backlash against some of these women who are speaking up in the past 10 days. But the idea, she said, it takes a village. So if all of us really, it's like there really is strength in numbers. And
the easiest thing, and I've felt this personally through my career as well, the easiest thing to take away from a woman is her work. That men feel, especially in our business, if she doesn't compromise in whatever way, whether it's sexually, whether it is, being, stroking someone's ego, or whether it is being, networking, you're always threatened that you will not get that part, or you will not get that movie, or this big boys club will get together and boycott you, so that as a woman you feel completely afraid and completely alone that, this is my work and these are my dreams, and they'll be shattered because this big boys club is not going to let me have it. And that's such a isolating feeling, which is why it's so incredible to see so many women come together and say, you know what, you're not alone. Me too. I stand by you.
so is there a Harvey Weinstein in India?
I don't think there's and I don't even think, honestly, there's only a Harvey Weinstein in Hollywood. I think there's a lot more out there, and there are a lot more men, and there'll be a lot more stories that come up. And I think that happens not just in India and all over the world. It's just the power of a man trying to take away a woman's power.
I think it's been really interesting also the role of female reporters and journalists in bringing this out. I mean, the New York Times has now done 3 different, some of you in this room were featured in their Silicon Valley story about sexism in Silicon Valley. They've now done Hollywood. I think after this conference, there'll be a story about the music industry. So the more these stories come out and the more power women have, even as journalists, I think.
To talk about it and to talk for it. Yeah, that'll make such a difference.
Okay, so I want to talk about our conversation last night. It's very interesting to me. We've brought really 2 completely different cultures together. Yes, we're all women. Yes, we're all powerful. We're at the top of our fields or presidents of our organizations, et cetera. But we really represent 2 very different cultures. I mean, as far away from New York and Silicon Valley or San Francisco are really as far away from each other as New York and almost, not technically, India. So
Just a little.
We had this conversation about fashion and about women. We were talking about makeup, actually, and one of my Silicon Valley friends, or San Francisco female exec friends, said, out here in San Francisco, women really don't wear makeup. It's kind of a power thing. Like, we feel that if we don't wear, the implication was that if you wear makeup or if you're trying to be girly or feminine, that this is not a display of power, right? Like, I think that the conversation was maybe that if you, and I don't want to, I'm not telling who told me this because I don't want to, I'm sort of like extrapolating, right? But so in San Francisco really is a much more casual culture. People don't wear heels, right? I don't know if, when I lived here 20 years ago, a lot of people wore polar fleeces to like the best restaurants in town. And as a New Yorker, it felt really, really strange. Like, oh my God, no one's wearing heels. No one's in dresses. But there's a really, and whereas I just came from Paris and Paris Fashion Week, like where if you didn't know the code and weren't wearing the right, you know, the coolest Prada t-shirt, that was also a sign of power. So can you talk about, like, you're a beautiful woman, you dress very femininely. Do you feel powerful when you display your femininity?
I absolutely feel powerful. I think there is such a strength in femininity. And for eons, women have been told that, you know, to be toe-to-toe with a man or in a man's business, especially in tech, by the way. I mean, you see how few women are represented in tech. And you see that we've been told for such a long time that you've got to be tough to be taken seriously and to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with a man. You've got to be tough, and tough means, you know, don't waste your time on vanity. Wearing lipstick is a waste of your time. That means what is more important to you is prettying yourself up or being feminine. Yes, that's important to me. Of course it's important to me. I like it. And that does not take away from my intellect. That does not take away from my strength, nor does it take away from my ability to be able to stand in front of so many women and have a conversation with you. Because, so what if I'm in a heels? So what if I like wearing a dress? And I think it's been such a long time that women have been told that, you know, your femininity is your weakness, whereas it's so not. We have such an incredible strength. The fact that we are vulnerable, the fact that we can feel emotions, the fact that we can be compassionate and at the same time tough, the fact that we walk into a room, in a boardroom, you guys are presidents and CEOs of your companies, you walk into a boardroom and you can put your emotions on check and say, you know what, I can compartmentalize. Those are such our strengths, and those are strengths only women have. And we've been told for too long that those are not our strengths. And I really am an advocate of femininity, and I really, really believe that whatever your version of femininity means does not mean you have to walk out in a gown or heels. Whatever your version might be, embrace that. Don't allow anyone to tell you you need to be a certain way or you need to dress a certain way to be taken seriously. You will be taken seriously because when you open your mouth, you deliver.
It's really a question of culture, though, right? Like, I think there was a story recently on the news, the television news, like 3 weeks ago. I was asked to comment on it about a woman. Maybe you guys out here know her, who dyed her hair. She's blonde. She dyed her hair brunette to get more funding. Does anyone know this story? She literally found that she got more money when she walked into rooms as a brunette than as a blonde.
Because of the stereotype against blondes. Is that it? For what?
Well, it was her decision. She decided to do it. It was a really interesting story. And my reaction as a New Yorker in the fashion and beauty world, I was like, well, you know, I don't recommend doing that. But however, whatever makes you feel powerful and strong is what you should do. But do you find that you go to visit, represent, and act in lots of different cultures? Like, do you find that you need to present yourself differently when you're, say, in Pakistan versus LA versus, I mean, you literally go, how many countries have you visited?
Quite a few. I have 9 passports, if that stands for anything. Yeah, there's a lot of travel involved, but it's also my choice. I love the world. I love cultures. I love different kinds of people. And I'm always extremely, I guess I embrace different cultures. So when I go to a different country, I embrace and I'm respectful to wherever I go, in whatever way I need to be. And I think that that's we need to be as malleable as that, you know? Like, I'm in America, I will dress and speak a certain way. I'm in India, I'll dress and speak a certain way. I'm in Jordan, I'll dress and speak a certain way, because I think you've got to be respectful for different cultures. But what is fascinating to me is how, like, as much as I travel around the world, and because I live in New York now, and I live in Mumbai, it's so different to see how women and the struggles that women have in different parts of the world, and how much of a voice some are allowed to have and how much of a voice some aren't. But eventually our struggles are all the same. To be able to, you know, have the kind of rights that we want. There's, like, we were just having this conversation outside, there are girls in developing countries that are literally pulled out of school as soon as they hit puberty because it's time for them to have babies. Or I was in Jordan recently with UNICEF, who I do a lot of work with, and I met a bunch of underage, like child brides, like child marriage kids who were married at 13, 14, and they didn't even realize they were getting married, by the way. They were told, oh my God, this is going to be a big party, and you're the most special girl, and you get outfits, and you get jewelry, and they're excited about it because they've been raised that, we're going to find you the best guy and the best bride. And at 18 or 17, they're mothers of 2 kids. They can't go to school anymore because, even if they want to, because they have a stigma against them that, oh, now you're a mother of 2 children and you want to behave like a child. You don't have any responsibility towards your kids. You want to go to school, but they're still kids. There's so much so many different things that women have to deal with all over the world that I think that opening our eyes as accomplished women of a world that gives us sort of privilege and gives us the ability to have a voice and, to open our eyes to that side of the world is just so fascinating to me. No.
Okay, I'm just going to shout. I'm going to do my general rapid fire questions that I love to do. This has been such an incredible morning, and I am very sad that it's coming to an end, apparently in 3.5 minutes. So, Priyanka, thank you so much for coming, and I'm going to hand this back to you. I'm just going to shout my questions to you. What are the last 3 things on your credit card statement?
Well, the last 3 things on my credit card statements are the commissions I pay to my agents.
And you pay them by credit card?
Yeah. Yeah, those are my expenses.
Okay. Oh, thank you. You amplify my voice. What's on your nightstand right now?
My nightstand. Oh gosh, one works at a time. My nightstand always has my laptop, a book I'm reading, and definitely my cell phone because that's the first thing I reach out to.
Do you have a secret talent?
Yes. I can put my legs behind my head.
Oh my God.
That's a talent, you guys.
That is a talent.
And it's not very secret anymore, but yeah.
I would make you do it, but you're wearing a skirt.
See, I was so smart.
What irrational fears do you have?
I don't know if it's irrational, but I have a fear of failure. I like excelling in anything I do, and I think the fear of failure keeps me up at night, even though I know I'll get over it, and I'll dust myself off, and there'll be another opportunity, but the feeling of not being able to be your best keeps me up all night. And losing my loved ones. I hate that thought.
But how do you overcome the fear of failure? How do you not have it be paralyzing?
It is paralyzing. Initially, at least for me, like when a movie doesn't do well, or if I came up here and you guys laughed at me instead of with me, it would be paralyzing. I'll probably get into my blanket, eat a tub of ice cream, and be that girl who, cries a lot, and it's okay. And then the next day I wake up and I tell myself, that happened, and now it won't. I just don't I don't repeat my mistakes. And that's what I think that is that's a way of getting over failure, is to understand what you did wrong and how to go forward from there.
Do you have any superstitions?
Superstitions, yeah. If something good is happening in your life, I don't like talking about it too much because I feel like then it jinxes it. That's a big superstition I have.
Okay, of the 7 deadly sins, lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride, which one are you most guilty of?
Gluttony.
Popular answer.
Oh my God.
After that delicious meal.
And pride. I mean, listen, people may call it arrogance, I call it self-assurance. And there's a slight difference between the two, but I'm self-assured, and that could be seen as...
No, that's a wonderful thing. That's not...
So then how is pride like a bad thing? Yeah, it needs to be the 6 sins now. Pride is like a good thing.
No, I think it's really... There's so many voices working against us as women that we can be fucking proud of what we did.
Yeah. And it should be allowed. Every year I wanted to be something else. So I wanted to be a pilot, I wanted to be a maid, I loved cleaning. And really, I used to take the broom out and I would clean the floors and get on my 4s, and my mom was freaking out because both my parents were doctors. So she was like, that's gonna happen. But yeah, every year I wanted to be something different because my parents told me you can be whatever you want to be. And then I became an actress.
I know there's a really interesting story which we don't have time for, but your mother secretly entered you into a beauty contest?
Yeah, my mom, I was taking pictures for a scholarship program. I wanted to be an engineer, and the photographer said, "Oh, you're really pretty, and can I take more pictures?" And of course, 17-year-old me was like, "Yeah, sure. I'm so pretty, take my pictures." And my mom, being every daughter's mom, thought I was the prettiest, smartest girl in the room. Sent in my pictures to Miss India without telling me. I don't know what they thought in those pictures, because there was those mall shots with like your hands here, soft focus. Yeah. And those pictures were sent in, and I was selected, and I won at 17. And then I guess I never looked back.
Wow. So if she hadn't entered you into that contest, you would be
I would be an engineer at NASA. I wanted to be an aeronautical engineer. I wanted to build planes. I wanted to work at NASA.
Well, it's not too late.
No, it's not. It's not at all too late. I feel like life is so long. It's definitely something I want to do. I mean, I don't know about the NASA thing, but like pursue some sort of education again.
Okay, so my last question of the day, is there anything, you sort of answered it, but what have you not done yet that you want to do?
Oh my God, so much. I mean, yes, I've worked since I was 17, and I feel like I'm just at the beginning of my life. Every year I feel that, because I feel like there's so many opportunities in the world that have been untapped for not just me, but for women in general, like women in entertainment, to be able to step out of just being actors, becoming a producer, becoming a storyteller, becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a mom. I don't know, there's so many things that I want to do. Being a mom was definitely one of them.
Become a mom?
Yeah. I think that's definitely on top of my list.
Mom and NASA.
Yeah. Right? Mom and NASA.
Priyanka, thank you so much for coming. It's been really wonderful hanging out with you as always. And I wish you were hopping on the plane with us, but half of you are coming with us on the plane, half of you are staying here, you lucky ones. And I just can't thank you enough. Very inspirational.
Thank you, guys. You were amazing. Thank you.
I want to bring my partner in crime, Nancy Berger, up to the stage. Thank you guys all so much for making this an extraordinary power trip. This is our last panel of the day. And